can see the slide that I'm sharing as well. Cool. Yeah, thanks for everyone who participated in the poll. It's actually very, very helpful. So it looks like we're live on YouTube. So without further ado, we'll get things started. Welcome to our latest edition of our workshop. Believe it or not, our next workshop, we'll talk about it in a minute, will be our 1-year anniversary. So we're going up fast, I guess. We're going to continue a conversation we had on SQL API feature of Cube. So definitely appreciate Adnan and Igor for being here to continue our conversations. Just a couple of quick logistical items. Just a reminder that we have a community code of conduct like good open source projects, so you can read the full details in our Cube.js repo. Feel free to reference the full text. Some quick notes before I turn things over to Igor. If you have any questions, during the workshop, we'll have like at least a couple of Q&A time. But feel free to, as you think of questions, feel free to type them in, especially in the Q&A tab on Zoom. That actually helps Adnan and myself and even Igor sort of keep track of which questions have been addressed and answered. So that would be appreciated. Like we've done with all of our workshops, we're using Cube Cloud for all of our hands-on demos that Igor will be going through. And unless specifically mentioned, I don't think it'll be the case today. Like all these features are available on both self-hosted open source or Cube Cloud. It's just that Cube Cloud gives us a nice environment to run workshops. And then there's a preparation guide that was sent out to people who registered before Monday. And then if you registered after Monday, you would have gotten linked to this preparation guide. So if you want to follow along, here's a quick prep guide that during and even after the workshop that you can sort of try out and get your hands on experience with some of the demos that Igor will be running through. And don't worry too much about like furiously like jotting things down on your notebooks. The recording will be posted on our YouTube channel as always, so you'll be able to find them there. And just a quick request. All of you will receive a post-event survey sometime today. Once the event's over, we appreciate your feedback, especially in terms of what worked and what needs improvement, and even some of the future topics you want to see. And like we've done for the past 3 workshops, I believe, we selected some charitable organizations to make donations to in lieu of typical like a thank you note that we've been shipping in the past. So these are all 3 organizations that are serving underserved like communities for people that want to pursue their career in tech. So you'll be able to select the charity of your choice, and we'll be happy to make a donation on your behalf. Speaking of next workshop, this is one of the topics that's been frequently requested is what we call sort of intro to Cube Cloud, and now we'll be leading that session. We'll be back with you on August 31st. So if you have any questions about the workshop or specific areas you want us to cover, feel free to let us know as well. And I think that's it in terms of the intros. What I'll do, Igor, is I'll stop sharing and I'll let you run with the rest of the content. So.
Great. Thanks, Ray. And yeah, I'll start by saying that I'm really excited to be presenting at the workshop, and thanks everyone who connected to Zoom or is watching this live on YouTube, right? And well, I try to compress into the next 60 minutes or so, some exciting updates from the Cube team and show you how BI tools and data notebooks might be used with the all new SQL API that we recently updated. So yeah, here's kind of what we're gonna go through today. So we'll do the recap of these updates really quickly. And well, I would urge every one of you probably to reserve some time to check the previous workshop that was also on SQL API, but we were featuring other BI tools and data notebooks that might be interesting to you as well, because there we also covered some of their performance features that Cube provides. And well, I won't be covering that again at this workshop. So please refer to this one if you want to see how Tableau or say Deep Note works with Cube. And also if you want to see how pre-aggregations and other performance features that Cube provides might allow you or will allow you to build dashboards that load just instantly and also provide you a data exploration experience in data notebooks where you run a query against a billion-row data set in data warehouse, and it loads just instantly. You don't need to wait even a second. So we won't be covering performance of this workshop. However, what we will cover, we'll see how one can run Cube is its updated SQL API and use it with different BI tools, and that would be Metabase and PowerBI and Observable and Hex. So 2 BI tools and 2 data notebooks. And also we'll dig deeper into maybe one of the most powerful features of Cube that's called multitenancy, and that might be used to implement a lot of different scenarios such as access control and even more. And yeah, we'll try to have a block of time where you'll be able to ask any questions that you might have. So let's start. And I'll start by kind of talking a few words about the Headless BI concept. So if you're following our blog, and if you're not, well, I encourage you to. You might know that a few months ago we published this blog post where Artyom, our CEO and co-founder, was blogging about this concept of Headless BI, which is essentially what Cube is. So Cube is a Headless BI platform, and internally it consists of 4 layers, well, namely data modeling layer, and access control layer, and caching layer, and API layer. And those layers, they basically sit between the data sources that you have and the data consumers that you have. And the data consumers are basically all the downstream tools in your pipeline, which might be custom build apps or machine learning pipelines, and also more frequently BI tools and data notebooks and other data exploration apps. So all those layers, they are enabled by the universal connectivity to data sources. So basically, Cube is able to connect to different cloud-based data warehouses and query engines and regular databases. So regardless of what you have, Snowflake or Databricks or Firebolt or BigQuery or maybe Presto or Athena. Well, even if you have like Postgres or ClickHouse or MySQL, that will work with Cube equally well or equally perfect. And also, Cube's API layer provides this universal connectivity to all BI tools, data notebooks, custom front-end apps that you have. So we might leverage its REST API, which just works just a regular HTTP service, or a GraphQL API, which is now a lingua franca for front-end developers, right? Or more importantly, you can leverage the SQL API, which allows you to have the same high-level access to the data model that's defined inside Cube. And that data model would hide all the complexity of the underlying data source, but at the same time, you'll be working with meaningful domain level or business level definition that makes sense to you and your app in using the Cube SQL API or any other API. So that's what Headless BI is in a nutshell. And there is this way to visualize all this. So basically, you have all the data sources on one side, data consumers on another side, and Cube in between. And a lot of powerful Cube features, we'll focus on some of them during this workshop that you're able to use to build data apps using Cube. And well, what about the SQL API? It's not new to Cube. It's something that we launched in 2021. And what happened a couple of months ago is that we built it and expanded the supported BI tools and data notebooks. And I think that what changed in the SQL API, it's a lot, and it's both kind of under the hood and what's visible and what's usable for all you Cube users. So initially, the SQL API supported, as a preview, a single BI tool, which was Apache Superset, a number of other tools, but that was all under testing and under being kind of evaluated. But then the engineering team here at Cube has rebuilt their SQL API from almost entirely. So now it supports the Postgres dialect. So basically, the SQL API that Cube has is available. It speaks Postgres dialect, and any downstream tool which supports Postgres as a data source will work with Cube. Ain't it exciting? So basically, if you wonder, does my BI tool, does my notebook, or does my app work with Cube? Well, it does, because, well, chances are it works with Postgres, right? And that's probably the most widespread SQL dialect in the world. And also internally, Cube is now powered by the Apache Arrow Data Fusion query engine, which is really powerful and really performant. And, well, it accounts for maybe half of the Rust code base that Cube now has internally, and that provides for its amazing performance. Well, and then with all that, we updated the API, so now it supports almost all BI tools and data notebooks on the market. So there's a session API, there are the pages in the blog and our docs which you can be tracking. But basically, the state of things with the support for the tools is as follows. So Cube fully supports such BI tools such as Superset and Tableau and PowerBI and Metabase, and also notebooks from the regular Jupyter notebooks to all kinds of cloud-based collaborative data platforms like Hacks or Observable, etc. And well, we as we speak, the engineering team is working on bringing in support for Google Data Studio and Microsoft Excel and maybe Google Sheets, and that would be coming really soon, just in a matter of weeks rather than months. So please track our docs or follow us on Twitter and check the announcements in our blog, or be following our workshops. So you'll know first when that lands. But as I said, that will land in a matter of weeks. So really soon. And well, this is not the point of our workshop, but keep in mind that with the REST and GraphQL API that Cube has, it also supports building front-end data apps where you would probably use REST and GraphQL to connect to Cube, not the SQL API. And well, if you want to suggest more tools to be supported, just go on the GitHub. We are welcoming any suggestions and ideas that you may have. So how would one connect to SQL API? Well, if you're self-hosting Cube, if you're running it on your machine, or if you're running it in your private cloud, right? Maybe if you're deploying it to Kubernetes, running it with SQL API is as simple as just adding a number of exactly 3 environment variables, right? So you want to set kubejs PG-SQL port, kubejs SQL user, and kubejs SQL password, and you're all set. After that, the Cube would expose or open this port 5432, and well, it will behave as a Postgres server, so you'll be able to connect to that. So let's see how it works. Well, I believe most of you who joined the workshop, you checked this workshop prep guide. So just be advised that it's now extended with the code snippets, which you might check, or which I encourage you to check during the workshop or maybe after the workshop. And I think that some of my teammates, maybe Ray or Adnan, will copy a link to this page to the chat, so you can follow along if you have hard time finding it. So yeah, here we have the Docker Compose file that would run Cube. Well, I have it on my machine here, so I'll show you on screen. So yeah, let's run Cube with the SQL API and see how it works. So in this Docker Compose file, I'm defining a service which is based on the latest version of Kube, and you can see that, well, alongside the regular variables, I'm defining these three, right? So this is kubejs PG SQL port and SQL user and SQL password, right? And well, that would expose a port which would respond to this user and password credentials, right? And also in that file, there is another service which is called script, and that basically runs the file script.sh, right? So what's in there? Well, that script is quite simple. After the cube starts, it will sleep 1 second to allow it to initialize, and then it would run a couple of queries against cube. So the first one would fetch the available tables, and the other one would run this query, right? Which would probably count the number of orders and break them by statuses, right? So you can see here that, well, indeed, this query SQL file is fed to their PSQL client, right? Which uses the credentials. And well, every one of you might build some expectations for what would be the output of that of running this command, because, well, here we have the orders.js, right? The single schema file, and, well, we'll be fetching data from it. So yeah, here's my console where I'll run this Docker Compose up, and let's inspect the output. Oh, okay, we're done. So you can see that this command started, our container with Kube, and also the container with our script. We are running some version of Kube, right? And we see that we see that, well, some output images from Kube, and here's the output of the first command, right? So we see that there is a schema public, and within the schema there is a single table orders, right? And that table basically matches the orders cube that was defined in our data schema, right? And, well, that's interesting. You can see that also this query, select status and count star from orders group by one, or the same in the JSON form, was run against this instance, right? And well, you can see that, well, there are orders in 3 statuses, right? They had 3 distinct statuses, and there are counts for every one of them. So here's how it works. It's extremely easy to run Kube if you're self-hosted with this SQL API enabled, and then you can just treat it as a Postgres server, and you can run whatever SQL commands you might expect Postgres server to understand, right? And you'll be querying Kube. However, well, during the rest of this workshop, I'll be referring to this Kube Cloud instance. So here I run Kube, which is connected to their data set for which you might see the credentials in the workshop prep guide. And, well, it's just it. So probably most of you who registered for this workshop have followed the prep guide and created this Kube Cloud deployment. And, well, if you can follow what I'm doing in your deployments, and well, experience the same results, right? So yeah. So right now we'll show how you can connect to SQLi in Kube Cloud, how you can use it with different BI tools. And before we jump into that, just be advised that you are running the latest version of Kube, because, well, as I said, the engineering team is working on the enhanced and expanded support for different BI tools and the SQL API. So it's crucial for you to be on top of things. So to upgrade your instance, you might go to settings, and then choose the cube version. And here in the drop-down, you might select the latest. So I'm already on the latest version. And well, I advise you to switch your deployments that you'll be following, that you'll be using on this workshop to the latest version. It's namely 0.30.41, right? And yeah, that's all you need to proceed. So yeah, now that your deployments are upgrading to the latest version, we are ready to start exploring how to connect Cube to different BI tools. And well, I'll probably start with one of the most popular and definitely one of the most widely used in the enterprises, right? That's Power BI. And well, you may wonder how would I run it, because well, this is obviously my Mac machine, right? Well, here's my remote desktop client. Well, and we'll connect to Cube from Power BI. So, okay, I have some report here, but well, I don't want to use it. Let's build something from scratch. So, yeah, I'll choose to create a new report. And sorry, this runs in the cloud, right? In some Windows machine, which is not very close to me, so we'll experience some delay. And now we got the fresh report. So we don't want to see this model. However, now we're prompted to connect it to a data source. Well, let's do that. So how do you connect to Cube from Power BI? Well, in this dialog that appears on the screen as I speak, we'll need to select the database type of the data source. Where is it? Come on, Power BI. Yeah, the database type. And then Postgres, right? Because, well, Cube speaks Postgres syntax, right? So I press connect. And now we're prompted to enter the credentials for server and database. Okay, so I go to Cube Cloud, and well, you might go to your Cube Cloud instances, right? And now I click how to connect your BI tool. So here are your credentials for your SQL API. Okay, so here I copy the credentials for the host and paste it here, also for the database. And see, I'll choose to use a direct query connectivity mode, basically because, well, with Cube you can be connected to, well, cloud-based data warehouses or data sources which contain a lot of data. So if we're not using direct query mode, well, then Power BI will try to fetch all the data from those data sources. That's probably not something that we want. Oh, okay. It says that we couldn't authenticate with the credentials provided. Please try again. Okay, I'll try again. Okay. So yeah, here are the credentials, and let's connect to it. So it's database and it's Postgres. Let's connect. Okay, server. It's this one. And here the database. Okay. Yeah. And here goes the username and the password. Yeah. And I'm choosing this level. Okay. Press connect. Done. Okay. So in a few seconds we'll see, yeah, the navigator, and well, let's choose some cubes to work with. Well, I think that probably this 3 is enough for us. So just load them, and in a few seconds we'll see them appearing here in the fields section, right? Okay, we create connections, and well, here are our fields. Okay, we already know from running running this query, right? That there are some orders and different statuses, right? Let's try to replicate this in Power BI. So, okay, I just expand to orders and I drag and drop count here on my report. Well, you can probably see that there's some spinner here, so the data is loading. Okay, we've got 10K orders. What if I add their status here? Well, now they are broken down by statuses. Nice, nice. Okay, why don't we try different visualization types? So why don't we build, say, a pie chart? So we have the users here. So let's probably break those users by genders. Okay, so here's another chart, and I want to switch it to their, say, donut. Okay, so as we can see, some work needs to be done to achieve the gender equality in our data set. Well, that's something that we should definitely do. And well, that's bar chart, that donut chart. What about plotting sometimes serious data? I think that this is where line items come handy. So yeah, here's the count metric, right? A lot of line items within our orders. Let's break them by the created that dimension. And well, this looks like a bar chart. I'll expand this one and switch it to be a line chart. Cool. So as you can see, you can just reference their measures and dimensions that are available as part of the cubes here, and just basically specify what you want to see on the x-axis or on the y-axis. And well, you can actually even drag and drop them. So I can just remove gender from here. I can drag and drop seating here, or switch the chart type, and I'll get entirely new visualization. So yeah, here's how you can use Cube with Power BI. And well, since you can connect Cube to practically any data source, and you can use the pre-aggregations to make sure that every query runs with sub-second latency, well, this is a way for you to have your Power BI dashboards run instantly and provide the best user experience possible. Okay, so that was Power BI, right? And what about trying some other BI tools, or some might say more user-friendly BI tools? And well, I'll open to do so, right? So here I have my Metabase instance. Hey there, it says, okay, hey. And the first thing, well, that we need to do is to connect it to our Cube Cloud instance, to our SQL API. Well, I go to the admin section, and here under databases, I can add a new one. However, let's do something differently. Well, I predict that we might need to update our data model when we'll be visualizing the data in Metabase. So to do so, let me enter the development mode here in Cube Cloud. So basically, the development mode is Cube Cloud feature that allows you to fork your production API and have another version of your API run in parallel, right? And you might be changing the settings, updating the data schema, adding measures, adding dimensions, adding cubes, and you'll be working with this kind of private version of your API, while your production API will stay intact, right? So that's exactly what we are doing. We are forking our API, and yeah, we can use that version to connect to Metabase. So yeah, I guess that in a few seconds I'll see the credentials for this fork in here, and yeah, it seems to be loading quite slow. So let me reload the page. yeah, so basically this would be the credential that we'll need to fill in here. So what would be the name for the connection? Let's call it workshop, right? And then, yeah, okay. And then we'll just pick again the host from here. We'll take the default port here, the database name and the username and the password. Okay, let's save this new data source called workshop. Cool. Yeah, let's explore the data. Yeah, there are a lot of auto suggestions, but let's see how it's visualized in the main interface. So yeah, here we have our data, and here's a workshop database that we just added. Exactly, this is a data Cube provides. So yeah, I think that for some of us, the Metabase interface might be more user-friendly. And one of the features that I like in particular is that Metabase provides this very interesting X-ray functionality. So with X-ray, you can just click this bolt, and well, Metabase will try to show you some insights about your data. So yeah, let's see what it can show to us. And actually, I think that we might get even more interesting insights about their line items. So let me try that. Okay, take some time to load. Interesting. Something's probably not right. Okay, let's do like this. I'll probably stop sharing my screen for a second and let my teammates to maybe take some questions. While I will just quickly check that everything is all right with my setup. Okay. See you in a minute.
Okay. Thanks, Igor. Yeah, and thanks for people that have been submitting questions. I think a lot of them had been answered. I mean, I apologize, I don't see the name because it just says an anonymous attendee. Some of your questions are a bit broad, so if you can, if it's like a best practices or use case type of question, we may not be able to answer them because we need more information on the tools that you use or your infrastructure and some of your use cases. I mean, feel free to type those on Slack after the event, and we will be sure to follow up on that. There were a couple of questions on joins. I mean, hopefully, like we'll have news on that front soon. I mean, this is something that we talked about in the last workshop as well. Unfortunately, we don't have a firm date on that, but that's something we're actively working on. Adnan, were there some of the questions that you wanna field or you want to sort of highlight? I think you answered like a lot of them as well, but
yeah, I mean, nothing really special to highlight.
Yeah.
We did our best to answer everything in written form as well. So I reckon for now we're good. We do have one that's open, so we can check that right now.
Or Igor, are you back with us or like?
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm back, and
Okay.
And I'll just share my screen once again.
Okay.
Okay. So where is it button? Okay. Right. So yeah, what I did is that I just basically exited their dev mode and applied a few changes to the data schema. Well, I promised you some changes, right? So here they are. So basically, I updated the users cube with this code, right? And I uncommented this snippet, this dimension, and also this snippet, and yeah, now my changes are being deployed to KubeCloud, right? And well, you might see that, yeah, okay, they are almost deployed, and you might see that here in the credentials section, some of the credentials, they are different, but they should be different for the production version of the API that you're running, and also for their the private version that you run when you fork your API. So the database name is just Vivid Caulfield, right? And yeah, what I did also is I updated my my database name here in the Metabase. So anyway, let's exit the admin mode once again and explore the data. So here's our workshop, and here should be our orders. Okay, where they are. Wow, takes some time to load. Interesting. Well, this is not something that I expected, but well, I do have a plan B actually. So I'm not sure where the problem is. So but let's try another kubecloud deployment that I have prepared some time ago. So I log into kubecloud and I have this examples tenant here. Well, and we have lots of examples as you can see, right? And well, I want to access this econ data set, right? So yeah, okay. So yeah, let's see if we can get the credentials from this one. Probably not. Oh well, okay. Then I also have a deployment in here. Okay, and I exit the dev mode. Right. So let's update our Metabase instance once again with the right credentials. So here's the workshop. And yeah, okay. We'll need to update the host. Sorry, we'll need to update the host and default port and also the database. And the password. The username stays the same. Okay, save the changes. Yeah, it's success. And then I sync the database schema just in case. And I exit the admin mode. Okay, here's our workshop and our orders. Well, still not working. Well, I'm not quite sure on which side the problem is. Oh, okay, it works now. Cool, here we go. Right. So, well, that's Metabase, and well, as I bragged already, it has some UI which some of you and also myself think that it's might be better in some aspects than PowerBI and some other not so modern BI tools, but let's see what it provides. So here we have our statuses. We can instantly just see the distribution of those statuses. So yeah, okay, this was quick, and we didn't need to drag and drop anything, right? And you can change the type of this visualization just instantly. So that's kind of nice, Metabase, right? But what if you wanna see, probably how those orders were coming by date? Well, that's probably would be a more complex data visualization, right? So probably let's plot it on a line chart. So on the X, let's see when the orders were created. On the Y, let's see the count, right? Okay, it looks nice, and you might even kind of fine tune how it all looks like, and use this kind of other display modes, etc. However, well, those of you who really care about what you see on the chart, you might wonder, okay, why do we need kind of the daily granularity here, right? So it probably makes sense to analyze the data using the monthly granularity or maybe quarterly, right? And well, there is no way you can do anything to have that kind of granularity if you follow that path in Metabase. However, well, the right way to do this in Metabase would be to ask a question. So basically, we were exploring the so-called simple question interface in Metabase. Let's try what the custom question provides. So yeah, we need this workshop data set and also our orders. And now we are able to pick a metric. Let it be the count of rows, and pick a column to group by, and that would be created at. But this time we are able to to choose the desired granularity, right? Well, I prefer them to be monthly. And well, you can see also that you can add different filters in here, right? And the filter on the dimensions, or maybe on the segments from the cube schema. So the shaped element here is a segment in cube schema. Okay, let's visualize that. Wow, it definitely looks nicer. And you can see here that we are using the monthly granularity, right? So we could, oh, okay. Weekly doesn't work. What about yearly? Yeah, that definitely works. And well, you're able to fine tune this as well if you'd like to. And well, as you probably saw, there is another part of this Ask a Question interface, which allows you to run a native query, right? So this is basically a way to run raw SQL queries against your data source, and well, we'll be running them against Cube. So, for example, what if you wanna build the same chart using, by writing a raw query? So let's say let's start with just selecting the count of orders, and that would definitely work. Okay, there are a lot of them. And let's say we want to break them down by the date. So we'll use the date trunc function that would truncate our created that dimension. So we have the monthly granularity, and then the only thing that we need to do is to group by that dimension. Okay, here's a query which is written in a Postgres syntax, which we ran against Cube from Metabase, and of course you can visualize that. And well, for those of you who have great memory, you might see that it matches what we already had when we were using the other ways to ask a question. And of course, now you can save this question, save this chart, and then you can add it to a dashboard, right? So this is how you use Metabase with Cube. Right, and well, that's all for the BI tools from this workshop, but it's not all for the whole list of tools. I know that we are already at kind of 45 minutes, but well, there is a way to quickly show you how to use BI tools as well.
Igor, just a quick, I wanted to address like Jeremiah's question before we forget on like the joins that you showed in Power BI. Like, was that done in Power BI, or like the question is where that join was done, I think.
Well, I think the core, like, I think that, well, actually, as you can see, all the charts that I have here, they use the measures and dimensions from the same cube, right? So this is the data from the user cube, and this is the data from the orders cube, and this is the data from the line items cube, right? And well, so I use measures and dimensions from a single cube and a single chart. That means that well, no joins are employed, right? So at least at the level of the fields which are exposed to Power BI, of course, you might need, and you would need in a production setting, to join the data in Cube, and that's something that you would need to implement at your data model level, right? So if I navigate here to the schema, I can show you really quickly. I can show you that. Okay, probably it's here in the orders cube. Okay, it's not here. Anyway, you might use the so-called proxy dimensions to add the dimensions and measures to your data schema. That would be that you might use in say Power BI, and that would Cube use to generate joins under the hood. So you will have the regular measures and dimensions here under cubes, and cube will take the care of generating the joints under the hood. And also, you can refer to the recording of the previous workshop where I showed exactly that, right? So please do that. That was covered there. Right, and well, real quick, let's see how Cube can work with Observable, which is not a BI tool per se, which is a data notebook, right? And we covered Deep Note last time. Let's see what Observable can do. I really like it because it's quite distinct from other data notebooks, because the native language that it uses, it's JavaScript. So it's not Python, which is questionable, but yeah, JavaScript it is. So yeah, we can start building our insights in Observable just by adding a new cell called database query, right? And well, we'll need to select a database, and I'll add the new one, right? So I'll pick the credentials from here, right? So, and add them really quickly here. So let's call it workshop 2, because I already have some workshop credentials in there. And then I'm just copying, okay, it's database and the user's cube, and here the password. Okay. Connection is successful, cool. Okay, navigate back to our workshop notebook, and then I choose this workshop 2 connection, and well, instantly you can run any query that you want. And well, I'll just copy this SQL query, and I'll just copy and paste it in here, right? Okay, let's run this. Well, it works. And of course, you can run, other arbitrary queries in Cube. You can name this data frame, say it's data, right? And then you can write some JavaScript to visualize it. However, what I particularly like in Observable and in some other data notebooks, such as Hex, for example, is that they have a different type of a cell, which is called data table. And with the data table, you can select the source, and then you might work with the cubes and measures and dimensions in Cube, just like with regular entities of a database table, right? So I can pick the orders cube from here, and instantly I'll see all the data. But then I might choose just to plot the statuses with respective counts, right? So yeah, here's the data that you've seen for numerous of times already. And then I can say, okay, let's call this statuses and let's plot this. And well, Observable comes with a really rich set of charts, and it works with the so-called plot charting library, which is really rich and really flexible. It's based on the d3.js library under the hood, and well, probably that's the kind of data that we would like to visualize using the bar chart. So yeah, probably that's going to be a horizontal bar chart. Okay, so well, after just the press of a button, Observable provides this code snippet that we need to edit, and I'll say that the data is in the frame called statuses, and by X we want to see our count field, right? And by Y we want to see our status field. And probably that's it. Let's run this cell. Cool. Here it is. And well, if we choose to rename anything, say it's ABC, count star is ABC, and not here. Okay, if I run it here, it will change here, but that's not the data frame that I was visualizing. Anyway, here's a way for you to connect Cube to Observable. You can write and run arbitrary queries using the full power of Postgres, and also you can use this data table interface to to work with with the tables or cubes which are exposed as tables and their data, right? Okay, so here's how you use cube with Observable, right? And well, I have something else for you. I wanted to show you how cube also works with the hex state notebook.
Hey,
however,
Igor,
yeah.
Igor, can I suggest something? Like, I think, like, because some people need to drop off in about 8 minutes. Like, we can cover multi-tenancy, which people have been waiting for, and then we can come back and we can stay longer and show hex if that works for you too. But
yeah, that's a good idea. Actually,
Yeah.
we'll use hex to cover multi-tenancy, right?
Oh,
So,
awesome. Perfect.
Yeah. So, well, let's jump into that. I see that we have a really compressed timeline. Okay, so what's multi-tenancy? Well, I would say that this is probably one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful feature of Cube. And that the multi-tenancy basically allows you to treat differently queries which come from different categories of users. So say you're building a data app which is used by regular users and admin users. You might want to expose different data to those users, different metrics, and you might also disallow queries for some categories of users, or you might want to enforce additional filters and other restrictions on queries coming from a category of users. Or you might be building an app which many users face, like if you're building in SAS using Cube, you might have thousands of users, and you would treat every one of them as a different tenant. And as I said, multi-tenancy spans across multiple layers of Cube, so you're able to fine-tune your data model for different categories of users. You might fine-tune the access control, or might fine-tune the performance features for different categories of users. So it's extremely powerful. But I would probably say that the most frequent use case is to use multi-tenancy with the access control. And to do so, you're usually providing the additional metadata with every query or every request which is incoming to an API, and then you just decide what to allow with that, right? And this metadata might be supplied with the REST or GraphQL API using JSON Web Tokens and JSON Web Key Sets that you might read more about that in our documentation. And the SQL API supports multi-tenancy and passing this additional meta information using the so-called custom authentication, which is also covered on the SQL API page in our database. But that basically means that, well, you need to implement a single function or extension point to support that. Okay, so how do we do that? I'll go back to my deployment here, and I'll enter the dev mode. And here I have a Hex notebook, and I'll create a new project called workshop. So again, the first thing, let's connect it to Cube, right? So we'll use the Postgres source. We'll call the connection workshop, and then we'll fetch their credentials from here. So okay, it's host and the Postgres port, and then the database. The username is Cube, and the password is here. Okay, let's create this connection. Right, so we have the workshop connection. Well, just instantly after that, we might create a SQL cell and run something like select. I'll say status found star from orders group by 1. Probably you're already. Okay, we need to set a data connection. Let it be our newly added workshop data connection. You're probably already fed off with seeing this data, right? But it is what it is. Okay, and well, as you can see, no metadata is provided with this query, right? So how do we do that? We need to implement the so-called check SQL auth extension point. And to do so, you need to update your cube.js file, right? So here I have quite trivial implementation for the check SQL auth function, right? And in this really trivial implementation will work like this. So it will try to check the provided request and username, and it will throw an error for every such request. Okay, what will happen if we run this query? Okay, yeah, password authentication failed for the user cube, right? Because we explicitly disallowed it with this setup. Okay, what if we wanna provide the access to another user called admin, right? With the password called password. Well, here's the part that we want uncommon here, right? And let's add a new Postgres connection with this new credential. So I called this workshop admin, and then I'll reuse some of the credentials, but not all. So here's the host and the database name. They are the same. However, the user will be admin and the password will be password. And I create this connection. Okay, so now we have this new workshop admin connection, and I just duplicate this cell and I'll run it against this new connection. So here's a workshop, here's a workshop admin. I run it, and it works. However, our first cell is now defunct, right? It's not working because that's how we implemented our check SQL auth function. So to allow this to work, I'll uncomment this part, and also I'll go to the overview section, and I'll make sure to copy this password. Okay, so we need to support the admin user with a password called password, and also the cube user with a password like this. Right? And after we do that, we can rerun this cell and it'll work. Right? So both cells now work. And you may wonder, okay, what's the use of that? Okay, we have two sets of credentials, but, well, they see the same data, right? And here where query rewrite, another extension point comes handy. So you might implement it in a way where you inspect the contents of the so-called security context. This is the metadata which you can provide here as a part of the returned values, right? So the admin user is provided with a security context which contains admin, right? And, well, you might check this in the query rewrite function. And if the request comes from not the admin, spot the exclamation sign here, then you'll push a filter on the query. So you'll enforce an additional filter, right? So there is no chance that the non-admin users will see orders in the statuses other than completed, right? So let's save that. Let's see how this works in the notebook. So when I go back and I rerun the admin query, basically nothing will change, right? The admins have the full access. But if I rerun this query, we only see the number of completed orders. So basically now you're segregating the queries, or you're treating differently the queries coming from regular users and from admin users. And you're able to enforce additional access control restrictions, or you might enforce additional filters on your query. And, well, you can do anything the cube can do. The cube, it's available in Cube, and apply those based on what category of users that this request is coming from. I know that we've depleted our time, but the last minute I'll spend on showing something that's quite advanced, but that's really 1 minute. Okay, you may wonder, okay, do I need to hard code all the credentials in my cube.js file? Obviously not. That's an option, but obviously you don't have to do that. What you can do is you can implement an external authentication service, and here's what might be the implementation for your SQL auth function. So you might be fetching the credentials from an external endpoint, and that's what Cube would use with your queries. So yeah, here I have an example of such a service that will run within a second. So let's say for the Cube user with this password, that's something we want to support, and also we have the admin user with this password. Okay, and here's a simple just Express project, and I'll run it on my machine and the port 30,000, and then I'll expose it through this service called ngrok, and here's the endpoint. So if I come to this endpoint, I'll see cannot get, but if I come to /cube, I'll see this metadata, and if I run /admin, I'll see this metadata, right? So now we can just insert this endpoint here, save everything, and well, if I did everything right, we should see no changes in here. However, there are no passwords anymore in the cube.js configuration. Well, it seems to work. No errors. And yeah, and if I just stop the service, if I stop proxying and stop it and run this again, no data will be available, right? Because there's no way your users can authenticate at this point. Yeah, so here's how it works, and here's how you can implement multi-tenancy with Cube. You just use custom authentication, implementing this check SQL auth function, and you can even connect it to remote external authentication service. And just the last remark would be that we are also working on a way to provide the way for you to supply the metadata with every query, and that will be done with this ephemeral dimension or column in the table, which we are designing as a _user column. But just stay tuned for the updates, and we'll keep you updated. Yeah, and I think that's probably all that I wanted to show you. That's why I'm stopping sharing my screen, and let's see if we have any questions. I'll be happy to take them.
Cool, thank you, Igor. And sorry, I think I jumped the gun. You had a creative way of covering both multi-tenancy and hack, so well done. Yeah, and thanks for people. I think like a lot of the people are still staying on. Appreciate that. I know we're like almost 5 minutes over. One of the questions on like underscore user functionality, you just answered that, Igor, so that was great. And then I think the one remaining question we have is, can we have SQL auth with LDAP? Not sure if like either one of you can answer that, or
yeah, well, obviously we can, and yeah. I think I even provided some pointers on how that can be implemented. So well, it's not built in, right? So there's no way to implement that by just adding a few environment variables to your Cube instance, but that's doable using their by building a really, I believe, really simplistic external authentication service along the lines that I've shown you. So you need to spin up your authentication server that would then fetch the data from your LDAP catalog, right? And and then proxy that back to their check SQL auth function on the Cube side. So I believe that that's probably 40 or maybe 50 lines of code, and well, you'll need somewhere to host it. But yeah, that's definitely doable, and I might probably enjoy implementing that in my end of this week.
Cool. And yeah, and then there are a number of questions on YouTube as well. I think I answered, most of them have been answered. Somebody brought up Firestore, which like, I don't know if that's ever been discussed, but I think most of the questions were answered there. I think one more came in. just now on Zoom. Schedule refresh time zones are not tenant aware. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I see this question, and that's quite interesting. So, yeah, well, I think that I need to check. Well, yeah, the question makes sense. So basically, the question is that when you want to use pre-aggregations with the tenants in different time zones, you might wonder, you might want to provide the list of those time zones. So Cube will build pre-aggregations that make sense for every time zone, right? It makes sense when you want to say, view daily some metrics, on daily basis, but the definition of day differs for different time zones. Like that's obvious. Yeah, and I think that I need to check the docs and probably the API docs for Cube. So yeah, I can see in the docs right now that the scheduled refresh time zone, it's defined as a option where you just specify an array. However, I suspect, well, I need to dig deeper in the API docs for that, but I suspect that it might be also implemented as something that accepts something as a function that accepts the security context, and then you can return the array of time zones. Well, I need to check that, and probably we can check this asynchronously after the workshop. Well, and if it's not implemented that way, then I think it should be. And the best way to make it happen would be to raise an issue on GitHub, right? And I believe the engineering team will be happy to take that.
Yeah, I think this is something that we can probably follow up on Slack after Igor, you and anybody on your team had a chance to sort of investigate this. And I think the same applies for the follow-up on the __ user question. Like, I'm not sure if you can answer this because it's still like in the future, but
yeah.
So
yeah, I see another question about the _ user parameter, and well, I believe that's a beautiful question because, well, it just nails the idea behind supporting this, right? So yeah, when you use Cube as a BI tool, you would probably connect the BI tool to Cube, using a single so-called service user, right? But then you might want to make sure that different users browsing different dashboards get access to different set of data, right? To different cubes and measures and dimensions in them, right? And yeah, the implementation of this kind of ephemeral user column would be that you'll provide a desired value for it as a filter for some dashboard, right? And then it will be appended in a where statement to every query that's being run against Cube. Yeah, and that's exactly as we are designing this, and it's exactly as it should be used, right? So yeah, I think that's coming, and again, it's probably a matter of weeks rather than months, right? And that's exactly how you will be using it. So just stay tuned for the updates, and yeah, I think that's something that will be available soon. Okay, thank you, Corey, as well. And I think there is another question, right?
Yeah, there's one more. Yeah, we'll make this a last question because we're already 10 minutes over. I apologize for asking people to stay beyond the allotted time. In multi-tenancy use case, is it possible that the schema specific for a user can be given by an external service?
Oh yeah, of course. So as I said, multi-tenancy spans all the layers Cube has, and it concludes the data modeling layer. And the data modeling layer has this ability to use the so-called dynamic schema, and it might be the kind of dynamic at many levels. So you can just specify your schema, as something static, right? Just write what cubes you need, what measures and dimensions you need. You can also use some JavaScript code to generate schema definitions based in, say, on an array of values that you hard coded in the same file. Say you want to have 10 dimensions which are defined in a similar way, and you just have a list of those dimensions in an array, right? You can just multiply them using JavaScript and schema. And also, what you can do is you can use fetch, or use some other JavaScript library that allows you to interact through the network, just like I did in this workshop. And you can fetch the metadata or maybe readily available cube definitions from an external endpoint, and you can just evaluate them, and that would be your data schema. So I've seen implementations where the data schema is stored externally, right? And it is fetched, on demand, right? So when say users use some UI to define the desired visualizations and and tinker with the measures and dimensions they want to have, and then you say that you create and save the data schema definition somewhere in the backend, and then you fetch them and expose via Cube API. And also you can just save some metadata, and you can fetch that metadata and generate the schema using some JavaScript on the Cube side. So there is some flexibility in that regard, but yeah, that's definitely doable. And I think that probably the best way to end this very lengthy answer to this question is to point you to the page in our docs, which is called Dynamic Schema Creation, and that would basically guide you through how that can be done. And also, if you have any issue, please refer to our Slack community. That's where you can find a way to solve any issue.
Yeah, let me paste that into chat here so people can see it. There you go. Cool. All right. Well, thank you, Igor, Adnan, and everyone else that stayed on for extra 13 minutes. And we'll be doing this again in a little over a month with Intro to Cube Cloud. So until then, I'll see everyone soon.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for attending.